Welcome to Guitar Books, the podcast. My name is Joe McMurray. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Kalamazoo Gals by John Thomas. This is a non-fiction novel. It's not a method, technique, or repertoire book for learning how to play guitar. It's a great book to read on the couch or on the train or wherever you want. It's a great thing to just get you more inspired to play, learning some history, guitar-related history. So it's a great book for vintage guitar enthusiasts, anyone curious about why folks are so crazy about vintage guitars, anyone generally interested in the Gibson Guitar Company and its founding, and anyone interested in the culture and society of the United States home front during World War II. The author weaves together the stories of the 1942 to 1945 Banner Gibson guitars, the personal stories of the largely female workforce of the time, and the historical context at the time with heavy wartime manufacturing regulations that affected the guitars they built and how many they built and that sort of thing. So this book, again, it does not teach you how to play guitar. It's a nonfiction novel. John Thomas, the author, put a tremendous amount of research into this book, making multiple trips to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where the Gibson factory was located. He presents his findings with a sense of humor, making for an enjoyable read. It doesn't read like a textbook. It's only 230 pages, so it's a fun book. Before I get into any more details about the book, I want to make sure I tell you about some of my what's been going on with me. So I haven't put out an episode for a while. We had our second kid. It's been a little hectic around here. Also, I'm hard at work writing my third book. This is on how to play fingerstyle blues, specifically with a monotonic bass, giving you a lot of freedom, melodic freedom, so you can really improvise and jam with yourself. If you haven't checked out my book, Arranging for Fingerstyle Guitar, the link is in the show description below to purchase it. This book shows you how to take a very simple melody and arrange it in hundreds of different ways, all within the umbrella of fingerstyle guitar. I've written a book on how to arrange for fingerstyle ukulele. This is being published by Mel Bay this year. It will be out at some point. So it's 2025 now, February of 2025 now. It'll be out soon, I hope. And if you haven't checked out my music, please check out my latest album from 2024. This is Pins on the Map. It's full of fingerstyle guitar, fingerstyle ukulele, and there's one piano track. So back to Kalamazoo Gals. So the crux of it is that when many of the male employees at Gibson were sent off to fight in World War II, local women, as the author dubs the Kalamazoo Gals, they stepped in to fill their shoes, the men's shoes, at the Gibson factory. Despite heavy wartime regulations and an inexperienced, largely female workforce, Gibson built some of its most revered guitars, the Banner Gibsons. These women, they may not have had a lot of experience building guitars, but they did have highly developed fine motor skills from knitting and sewing and that sort of thing, and these skills transferred over to guitar building. Mysteriously, the Gibson company denies ever having built these guitars. Makes for a great story. So John Thomas, he went to Kalamazoo and he put an ad out in the newspaper looking for some of the women who had worked in the factory during World War II. And he found some of the Kalamazoo Gals, and he gives their firsthand accounts of working at the Gibson factory during World War II. And along the way, he discovers their personal stories. He pores through old shipping ledgers to decode Gibson's strange serial number system or lack thereof so that you can more accurately date these vintage guitars. He actually he gets a hold of a bunch of Banner Gibsons from collectors, and he x-rays them to see how they're built and what makes these guitars great. That's a really cool chapter. Finally, he produced a musical album to capture the sounds of the Banner Gibson guitars. Moving on, the early chapters of the book present the history of Orville Gibson and the founding of Gibson guitars in the late 1800s and early 1900s. As a guitarist, I was intrigued by the history of the company and how it's intertwined with American history. I had no idea that Orville Gibson was fond of gaudy pinstriped suits and built interesting instruments like harp guitars and lutes and mandolins, in addition to guitars. I have a new respect for the company's history, having learned about how it scraped by during the Great Depression, building both guitars and children's toys, and how it aided the World War II effort by taking a bunch of military contracts to build weapons and military supplies. Over the course of this book, you will gain a much deeper understanding of Gibson's flat-top guitar models and their histories. You'll read the stories of several specific guitars that were owned by famous musicians, including Buddy Holly and Woody Guthrie. You may develop an itch to acquire a vintage guitar, or at least play some vintage guitars. These instruments have massive resonant sounds, and the stories they carry are truly special. However, most importantly, you will hear the personal stories of some 15 or so Kalamazoo Gals. It's touching to follow along as John Thomas clearly develops meaningful relationships with these women throughout the course of his research and interviews. Be sure to check out the album, The Light Still Burns, by Lauren Sheehan and produced by John Thomas, to hear some of the banner Gibsons in action. She plays a lot of fingerstyle, Travis picking, and she sings. There's some really cool ragtime pieces and old tunes that were out in the 1940s for the most part. So it's music that you would have heard at the time, played on guitars of the time period. It's a really cool idea by the author. So this is a cool book, definitely something that you could read if you love guitar and you just want something guitar related on the side. Check it out. Before I let you go, I want to tell you a little bit more about my books and my music. So again, I am hard at work writing my fingerstyle blues book. There's tons of information on the market already, but I find that most fingerstyle blues book give you kind of a bunch of different pieces and different styles, like sub-styles of the fingerstyle blues. My book focuses on playing over a monotonic bass. You will learn some bass line ideas, like simple walking bass ideas, but most of this is learning how to maintain the 12-bar structure and truly improvise over the blues, so you can sit down and jam out with yourself, kind of like you're playing with a band. So I have a very smooth difficulty progression. I've worked out a lot of the kinks in this stuff because I've taught thousands of guitar lessons, and I've worked with students on learning to play. I've taught them to play the fingerstyle blues, and I know where they get hung up, and I've tried to use that knowledge to write a better book. And there's lots of playing examples, and I'm really excited about it. So check that out when it's available. I will put a link in the show description below, even after the fact. Right now it's February 2025. I'm hoping to finish it up in the next couple months. Next, arranging for fingerstyle guitar. I've had that out for a year or two now. This book shows you how to take a simple melody and arrange it for fingerstyle guitar. I'll show you how to put a simple bass line underneath it, how to add inner harmony to fatten it up, how to add either a Travis-style alternating bass line or arpeggiation underneath. Arpeggiation gives it that really flowing, beautiful sound. Travis picking gives it more of a steady, rhythmic pulse. I'll give you lots of arrangement techniques, much more advanced than those. I have a couple chapters on reharmonization that I think is a really cool topic, showing you how to put different chords underneath the melody. So check it out. Also, my book, Arranging for Fingerstyle Ukulele, will be released by Mel Bay Publishing in 2025 at some point. And check out my music. My latest album is Pins on the Map. It's got lots of fingerstyle guitar, fingerstyle ukulele, and a piano track. I'm really proud of it. So thank you so much for sticking this out with me, and I hope you check out Kalamazoo Gals by John Thomas, and I'll see you next time. Bye.